And now we're going to go through the Photosynthesis and Cellular Respiration study guide together. Number 1 says the main pigment in plants that capture sunlight energy is blank. And when it's a green pigment that reflects green light, makes plants look green, and that would be chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, the green pigment in plants that captures energy from the sun found in the chloroplast. It looks green, the plants look green because of the green chlorophyll reflecting green light and found in the chloroplast. Number 2 says write the balanced equation for photosynthesis. Identify the reactants in the products. Well, the easiest way to do that we found out was to go to Insert, Image, from the web. Photosynthesis equation. And here it is. It's a very nice equation right there. It's got our 6 CO2s plus our 6 H2Os plus sunlight gives us C6H12O6, which is glucose sugar, plus 6 O2s. So balanced. All of these are going to have 6's in front of them. The one that already has 6's in it does not get a 6. Everything else gets a 6, and that is balanced. Okay. Our reactants are the ones on the left. So this would be reactants right here. And our products are over here on the right. And something to help you always remember, because sometimes people will write them kind of wanky-canky or something, not just like we're used to seeing them. But if you remember that the arrow points to the product. And the arrow is always going to point to the products. Back it up a little bit so it fits. No matter how it's written, the arrow is always going to point to the product. So points to the product, that'll help you remember. Arrow points to the products. Number 3, true or false, oxygen gas is necessary for photosynthesis to occur. Now, plants are going to be taking in carbon dioxide from the environment, from the atmosphere. They're going to take in carbon dioxide. They need the carbon dioxide. Oxygen comes out as a byproduct. So it's not necessary for photosynthesis to occur. They actually make oxygen and send it out as a byproduct during photosynthesis. What form of carbon do plants remove from the environment? We just said that. They're going to remove carbon dioxide, CO2. To carbon dioxide is removed from the atmosphere. That's another reason plants are so important. That's a greenhouse gas that we want out of our atmosphere. So number 5, what process releases energy from food in the presence of oxygen? So I already have the food, so it's not photosynthesis. We have the food going in, and we need to get the energy from it. So that's happening in the mitochondria, making ATP energy, and that is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is releasing energy from those food molecules. And that would be from the glucose in particular that we talked about. In eukaryotic cells, most of this process takes place when it's making ATP energy. And we've said it probably 500 million times since we started the cells unit. That's happening in the mitochondria.
Could someone from ABM please stop by the main office? Could someone from ABM?
Okay, so what is the difference between aerobic and anaerobic? Aerobic is in the presence of oxygen, anaerobic without oxygen. anaerobic is without oxygen. So aerobic is in the presence of oxygen, and anaerobic respiration is without oxygen. So why are aerobic reactions more efficient for the cellular metabolism than anaerobic reactions? That's because it allows it to go through the entire cellular respiration process to efficiently break down the glucose. So, oxygen allows the cell to go through all three steps, or 3 stages of cellular respiration efficiently breaking down glucose. It can go through all 3 stages. If it has oxygen, it can go through all the 3 stages. It has to be able to reach that electron transport chain, that 3rd stage, where the majority of the ATP is made, to be efficient at breaking it down. So oxygen allows the cell to go through all 3 stages of cellular respiration, effectively breaking down glucose completely. Okay. So 8. Which end product of fermentation causes the burning feeling in muscles that are working hard? Okay, so if you're working out hard, you're not getting enough oxygen into those muscle cells, you're going to get a buildup of lactic acid, and that's the burn that you feel. That's what makes your muscles sore later, is not getting enough oxygen in there, and those muscle cells go into lactic acid fermentation. Number 9, what substance is broken down during the process of glycolysis? Well, it sounds kind of like glycolysis. Lysis means to break, so we're breaking glucose. Glycolysis, glucose breaking. Number 10, ADP must combine with a blank in order to regenerate ATP. So ADP is a diphosphate. To go to triphosphate, it has to add a phosphate group. So we have to add a phosphate group to get that to ATP. Number 11, list in order the 3 steps of aerobic, so that's with the oxygen, aerobic cellular respiration, including the number of ATPs produced in each. That first step is glycolysis. And that was where that glucose was being broken down. And glycolysis gives 2 ATP. That next step was the Krebs cycle. And it too gave 2 ATPs. And then our final step was the biggie for ATP production. That final step was the electron transport chain. The electron transport chain is going to give the majority of the ATP, and it's going to give about 34 ATP at that point. It's the electron transport chain, and this is where hydrogen is going to link up with those oxygens, carrying those high energy electrons. It's going to hook up with those oxygens and make H2O water. Water is given out as a byproduct at this stage. At Krebs cycle, carbon dioxide was emitted as a byproduct. And then with the electron transport chain, water is given off as a byproduct. And that gives about 34, give or take a couple of ATP, depending on how efficiently that cell is running. So about 34 ATP. For a total of about 38. So 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. About 38 ATP in the total process from one glucose molecule. Photosynthesis and cellular respiration are the opposite of one another. The products of cellular respiration are what's going into the plant for photosynthesis to occur, and the products that are coming out of photosynthesis, the glucose and the oxygen, is what has to go into the cell for cellular respiration to occur. So they are the opposite of one another. 13, sunlight to glucose to ATP. We're going to write it as types of energy. Sunlight, of course, would be light energy. Light energy. Then glucose is chemical energy. Food is chemical energy. There's energy stored in the chemicals in the food. Yes, food's made of chemicals. Don't say, ooh, I don't want food with chemicals. All food's made of chemicals. So light energy to chemical energy. To ATP, which is metabolic energy. Metabolism is some of those chemical reactions in the body. So ATP is what fuels those reactions. So light energy to chemical energy to metabolic energy. And that's our energy transformations. Number 14, what is the main purpose of photosynthesis? The main purpose of photosynthesis is to convert energy from the sun to food energy. Food energy or chemical energy. Number 15, list some examples of both alcohol fermentation and lactic acid fermentation. Okay, for alcohol fermentation, we have yeast bread. Yeast undergoes alcohol fermentation to make the bread rise, and brewing alcoholic beverages. And then lactic acid fermentation. That will be in the muscles during a hard workout. And it's also in things, sour things like lactic acid in yogurt will give yogurt its sour taste, or sauerkraut, those kind of things. Lactic acid fermentation for those as well. Write the balanced equation for cellular respiration. And that would be glucose going in, which is C6H12O6 plus oxygen has to go in as well as an O2 oxygen molecule. Yields, and coming out of cellular respiration, we have carbon dioxide, CO2, plus water, H2O. And then the main thing we wanted out of that was those carbon dioxide and water are actually byproducts. The main thing we wanted was ATP energy. And to balance that, remember that one already has 6s in it. We have to go back and put a 6 in front of all the ones that do not have a 6. So we need 6 of those oxygen molecules. We need 6 of those carbon dioxide molecules. And we need 6 of those water molecules. And that would be balanced. And the reactants. Reactants are going to be on the left. And then the arrow points to the products. So these are our products.